Hey, sixth grade, we're going to talk about two more color ideas today. If we go back to the color wheel, there's something else that's happening here. We've got primary, red, yellow, blue. We've got secondary, orange, green, violet. We've got complementary, across, and we think about complementary in pairs. We also have analogous colors. We can think about analogous in pairs or groups of three. And so that's what you thought about yesterday. Today we're going to make two more charts. And so set up your paper something like this. The first idea that we're going to talk about is this idea of tertiary colors. And that is spelled T-E-R T-I-A-R-Y. And the tertiary colors is what happens when you mix a primary and a secondary color. And so you get red-orange, you get yellow-orange, yellow-green, blue-green, blue-violet, and red-violet, or violet-red. And so what I'd like you to do is create a color wheel that has the tertiary colors, okay? And I've got one almost finished for you, and so let me show you how that's happening here. For today, it's important that you use an art material that you can mix or blend. And so I did not use the markers because they don't really mix or blend very well. Instead, I was using colored pencils. And let me zoom down in here and I'll show you what's going on. I'm really layering those colors. If you happen to have Crayola crayons, they have already mixed for you those colors. And so I've got blue-violet, blue-green, yellow-green, yellow-orange, red-orange, and red-violet. And so you could just go ahead and use those mixed colors already. Or if you have colored pencils, you can see I've got red-violet, red-orange. It's not quite red, not quite orange. Yellow-orange, yellow-green, blue-green, and I'll show you here how to create that blue-violet. And so what I'm going to do first is I'm going to put down a light layer of blue. And then maybe you guessed it, I'm going to put down a light layer of violet. And I'm going to keep layering back and forth until I really have something that's solid. So it might take more than one application of each colored pencil color. So I put down a little bit of blue. Now I'm going to come back with the violet. And even though I'm moving my pencil quickly, I've got this even application because there's not a lot of empty space between my, my strokes or the movements that are happening. And if you're doing this with colored pencils, you'll definitely need to sharpen it a few times. In fact, if you could see my table right now, there is colored pencil all over it, which is sort of fun. Okay. So here's sort of an even application of the violet. And again, using light to medium pressure. And come back with the blue. You can also do this with oil pastels or with paint. If I was doing it with paint, I would mix those colors separate. I would take some blue, take some violet, mix them together, and then apply that blue-violet paint. And for this activity as well, if you want to use a digital drawing computer-based program to go ahead and do that, that's fine. When you're choosing those colors to apply, though, make sure you've got something that looks like it's got some blue and violet or purple in it. Okay, so red-orange, yellow-orange, yellow-green, blue-green, blue-violet, and violet red. There are some words for these colors. Sometimes you'll hear this called chartreuse. Some artists will refer to red-orange as vermilion. Sometimes we call this magenta, maybe aqua or turquoise. But I do think most often it's yellow-orange because as these colors are mixed in that tertiary level, you're getting more variation between them. Okay, so your first circle should be a tertiary color wheel. I just did it on separate paper for you. Okay, then our next relationship has to do with value, one color, and that's called monochromatic. Mono being the prefix for one, and chroma being the word for color. And so let me show you this next little page here. I've got two samples of this monochromatic value scale happening. The top one I did, first of all, mono, one color's in the middle, and then we're talking about adding white or adding black, or making it the darkest and making it the lightest that we can. But again, it's only one color, and you can use black and white, or you can just use your pressure to change it. So, lots of practicing today. Here, this value scale I just did with the blue colored pencil. And here I used lots of pressure and lots of layers to make this as dark as I could. And then still a few layers, not quite as much pressure, not quite as many layers. And then I continued to apply less layers, less pressure, to where here it's hardly any color that's happening. And then here it's almost the white of the paper. And this would be called a value scale or a monochromatic scale, all one color. Okay. Another way that I could do this would be with the crayons that have different kinds of blues happening. I wouldn't want to use blue-green because that has green and blue in it. But there's some colors. Regular blue, there's a color called cerulean blue. I'm going to add black. I could also pick sky blue, which is like blue and white. Where are you, sky blue? Here you are, sky blue. I've got regular blue, cerulean blue, and then I have a color in my box called cornflower, which is in between sky blue and cerulean. If you're going to use colors that are already mixed, you want to test those out. Just going to do this real fast for you. So I've got my sky blue. And if I had like a box of 94 colors, I might have a color called navy or azure, A-Z-U-R-E. That's a really dark blue. And so again, I'm choosing different values that are pre-mixed. But they're all still blue without another color being added to them. Cerulean's sort of in the middle here. This is a little bit brighter of a blue. And again, sometimes we do give these colors different names. For example, if I was doing red, this would be pink and this would be maroon. If I was doing orange, this would be peach and this would be a brown. But sometimes we just call it like light green and dark green. Maybe words like olive or pine green come to mind. But again, there's so much variation in those that it gets tricky to have one name, which everyone understands. Now, I don't have a darkest blue, so I could just use lots of pressure with the regular blue. What I'm going to do instead is put a very light layer of black underneath. There used to be a Crayola crayon called Midnight Blue. I don't know if they still make it. And then here is my darkest blue. I worked a little bit fast for the sake of the video. Make sure that your work is real neat, real tidy. And what you need to show me today is a tertiary color wheel and 1 monochromatic scale. You don't have to use blue. Can't wait to see your work.